What's going on, people? Hope you're well. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the channel. It's gone mad. The game's gone mad. Football has gone mad officially. We all thought it was going to, but today it officially went mental. PSG have accepted a world record bid of 259 million for Kylian Mbappe. There's Premier League clubs that are chasing after him, but I think they're going to have to probably give up and concede if that's the going rate for Kylian Mbappe. We're going to talk a little bit about Harry Kane. We're going to talk a little bit about Elise, and we're going to talk a little bit about Caicedo and Kudus as well. To do that with, obviously, I'm your host, Dan Potts, as ever. I'm with Ash. Leicester City are back, my friend. How you doing, Ash?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. Thanks for having me on. Even though we ain't in the danger zone anymore, are we? We're gone. So, yeah,
Mate, I
thanks for
remember
having
all
me.
last season, like, oh, Ash, was it going to, oh, no, they will be all right. You're not going to go down every single week, every show. And it's like, oh, no. It happened. But let's hope you bounce back. LB's back. What you saying, bro?
All good, mate. All good. Yeah, things are happening now in the transfer market, innit? I feel like it died for a little while, and then boom, it is alive and kicking, and it's kicking with power, bro. If you believe this news about the PSG thing, crazy, mate, crazy.
It is crazy, man. Ash, let's come to you because me and LB were on a show earlier talking about this a little bit, and the Saudi Arabia thing when it came in, I must admit, I was a bit like, I can see this being a bit like China. Like, that would just happen to a few players. Graziano Pella and Oscar went, didn't they? And it kind of died, and then no one else really fancied it. This seems a lot different, and it don't seem to be going away anytime soon. This is a country that are absolutely minted, and trust me, in my opinion, will just keep going and going and going until they get what they want, which I think is the World Cup. I think they want to be in the Champions League or the highest that they can be competition-wise. I think they definitely want to be seen as or recognised as one of the biggest leagues in world football. And today we hear that they have gone in for Kylian Mbappe, and this is what we are hearing. £259 million bid has gone in, and it has been accepted by PSG, funnily enough. And apparently this guy is getting £700,000 per week. Crazy money. Ridiculous deal. Billions and billions of pounds have been chucked his way. Only for one season. And then apparently he's allowed, if he wants to go anywhere on a free transfer, which is obviously the likelihood is Real Madrid. Talk to me, Ash. What's going on? This is mad. Football's gone, isn't
Yeah,
it? This game is changing.
pretty much. There's got to be a stage where football prevails, and it becomes about the love of it more than the finances. That's the truth of it, isn't it? I mean, I've read tweets recently today because I was scrolling thinking this is bizarre. I want updates on it, and apparently, like you say, the club PSG have accepted the fee, but I don't think Mbappe's feeling it. But by what I'm reading, he says he'd rather sit on the bench than play in Saudi Arabia. So, could this be the start of the bigger players saying no to the ridiculous money because they want to play in the elite leagues still? I don't know. It's just not going to have the same feel, is it? To me, Dan, like we all watched the World Cup in sort of a Middle Eastern country, and as good as the World Cup was, the fans all travelled there, didn't they? The loud fans, and can you see the Arabian fans really getting into these matches and going crazy? It's just not going to have the same feel, is it? And I just think football needs to prevail. We all know that Newcastle United would probably, if we didn't have FFP, would probably be throwing the same kind of figures around right now. And how long is it going to be until the Premier League bend the rules so they can? It's going to make football uncompetitive, in my opinion, and that's my worry.
Yeah, I think there's always that worry, and there always has been that worry that it's going to get a bit silly and money will get involved. But what do you make to this one, LB? I mean, obviously earlier we had a chat and we were talking about whether Mbappe would go there or not. And then, like Ash is saying there, he's obviously having potentially second thoughts about what to do. This might be the only way, in my opinion, that he gets to Real Madrid, because I don't see Real Madrid. I mean, this is if he wants to go Real Madrid, by the way. He might not want to. Everyone says that he wants to. There's not been the huge evidence that he wants to go there. It's only murmurings and rumours. Do you see any other clubs coming in now, or do you think this is going to be where he's going to be heading?
Nah, I don't think so. I think that Mbappe is a very special guy in the sense that he's played the game very, very well. I take my hat off to the guy. He's had PSG's pants down, 100%, mate. His contract was ending a couple of years ago, and he signed a 2-year contract. I mean, who signs a 2-year contract nowadays at his age? He signed it because he knew that in a year or two time, he'd be in the power position again. You know what I mean? And here we've got to this time again, and all of a sudden, we're in exactly the same position. PSG are panicking, and he's got all the power. He's got all the power, and he's played an absolute blinder. I think PSG made a huge mistake signing that contract last time. Because all they did, they kicked the can down the road. That's all they did. They kicked the can down the road, and now they're in a situation where they don't know what to do. Do they want to sell to Real Madrid? Not really, but they also don't want to let him go to Real Madrid on a free transfer. No one else can really afford him. The clubs that can afford him probably don't want him because he doesn't really bring like a team ethic aura about him. If you obviously hear what he said about the PSG team, wasn't exactly very nice. And I just think fair fucks to the guy. I think he's done an absolutely brilliant job. I don't know who his like business advisors are, but they've done a remarkable job, and he's going to get well paid. And if he goes to Saudi Arabia for a year, he's not going to care. You know what I mean? Like, we'll be on here saying, he shouldn't have gone to Saudi Arabia. He's not going to care one bit. He's going to win, $1 billion for going there for 12 months, and it'll be in Real Madrid. And then a couple of years later, everyone will forgot that he's been at Saudi Arabia anyway. So, I don't know. I just think that he's just done a brilliant job, and it'll be interesting to see where he does go. But I do have reservations. I don't know if he is going to go there. I feel that this could be another stunt by Mbappe.
And that for me is the word, because that's what he's done before, man. He has pulled this off, and he went to PSG basically. Stayed at PSG, should I say, by just being a bit of a nightmare, if I'm honest. And PSG have said, yeah, we'll keep you. He's now kicked off again. PSG can't be surprised because they must have saw this coming at one stage. Now that it's happening again, I'm looking at it thinking, wow, is he actually going to end up staying again? And I don't know. I wouldn't want to call this one, Ash, because Mbappe, for me, I don't think has really proven to be this loyal guy who wants to play football for the right reasons. I would say he's more than the opposite. So he could end up going anywhere, Ash. Like, what do you think he actually wants, in your opinion? Because sometimes you have to step back and take away all the nonsense you hear. What does Mbappe want? For me, he wants a club that's going to be competing at the very top level. He's clearly one of the best players in the world, if not the best player in the world. I don't know about you, but I just think that if Mbappe had his choice, he would look at a top club like Real Madrid, like people are saying, and want to go there. So this nonsense that we're hearing about Saudi Arabia might not be what he wants. It might completely get in the way of it, and he might just turn his back on it and try and go somewhere else. But is there somewhere else at the moment? We're hearing about clubs being interested, but no other official bids have gone in as such.
Yeah, apparently there's only a couple of clubs with the sort of the FFP, what's going on over here, that could physically afford him, and it be by the book sort of thing. So if I'm being 100% honest, I think what he wants is Real Madrid. He wants to play for Real Madrid. Like LB said, though, he's played a blinder with PSG. Absolutely played a blinder. He's had him on strings, hasn't he, for the last couple of years? And ultimately, he's going to get what he wants, I think, which is Real Madrid. The only worry you're going to have, Dan, and this, unfortunately, football's a business now, is his agents and everybody around him is going to be pushing him for a big piece of this pie that he's been offered. So the book doesn't stop just at him, I don't believe. As much power as they have, the agents are very powerful as well. And I think it's a bit of a big carrot to turn down financially, isn't it? But I think if you asked what Mbappe himself wants, he wants to be at Real Madrid winning trophies. Because obviously PSG haven't done it at the Champions League, have they? They've not reached that height. So, even, Man City, if I don't think they can because of FFP or what have you, throw that kind of money on a player this summer, but I'm sure if they could, they would.
Don't worry about that, Ash. We got lawyers to sort that out.
There we go. But it would be great to see him in the Premier League. And realistically, you've got Chelsea, Man City, Newcastle, and they're even saying Arsenal could afford him. They're the ones that financially I think could afford him. But I'd love to see him in the Premier League, but I can see him going to Madrid.
I think that is where he probably wants to go. However, LB, saying that, Arsenal and Man City put a bid in for this guy. And I would say if this happens, there's probably most of a world 11, if you like, that are playing in the Premier League if he comes, because you've got Haaland already there, Kevin De Bruyne's already there. You're talking about the young players that Arsenal have got. Manchester City has still got Diaz and Gvardiol, which if you're picking a 1 to 11, they'd probably be the centre-back pairings you'd probably go for in world football right now. We've talked about Saka before and how great he's been. There's only really a couple of players I can think of elsewhere that aren't playing in a world 11 right now that aren't in the Premier League if Mbappe comes over here. So would Kylian Mbappe be interested in coming to England is my question, LB.
Well, City tried to sign him within a year or two of Pep Guardiola coming to City while he was at Monaco. But all the indication at that moment in time was that he didn't fancy it, whether it was Manchester or whether it was England as a whole, not 100% sure. But apparently he didn't fancy it, and he moved to Paris. And so I don't know if he would, to be honest with you. I don't know. I just get a weird vibe off him, Dan. I do. I get a weird vibe that that he kind of wants Real Madrid and he doesn't really fancy the Prem. You know, I think the Premier League is, you come here, you test yourself, and everything about your personality, your attributes, your technical ability, skills, everything is on show. And I think it's very, very difficult, very, very difficult. No game in England is easy. We all know that. And I don't know if he's got the minerals for it. I don't know. Maybe he does. Who knows? But I just don't see him coming to England at all. I think it's Saudi or Real Madrid, or he'll stay at PSG again. Don't see him coming to England. I really don't.
Do you know what's funny? Like you say at the end there, or stay at PSG. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if he does, and if they offer him another crazy contract and he signs it for a couple of years, and this happens again?
It's very plausible, Dan, because all he has to do is turn around to PSG and say, "Don't fancy Saudi. I'm going to go Real Madrid next year," and straight away PSG will be like, "We cannot let that happen. Here's a new contract." Because they can't let him go for free. You know what I mean? You can't let him go for free. We're talking about, your North London rivals, Spurs, about potentially whether they can let Harry Kane go for free or not. I mean, that's a big decision, but that's at 80 million, 90 million quid. We're talking 250 million pound here. Yeah, I mean, you cannot let that go for free. So all he has to do is turn around and say, "I'm not going to Saudi." And then the PSG have to give him a new contract, and they will have to give him a pay rise. And this is why I said he's played a blinder, because they'll have to give him a pay rise because he's got all the power. All he has to do, they write a number down, and he goes, "Add another 0 on, mate. Otherwise, I'm going to Real Madrid on a free next year." And they have to do it because they can't physically let him go for free. It's ridiculous. It'd be one of the worst sort of transfers ever in the history of football if PSG let him go for free next year. Ever. £250 million player going for free. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think it goes back to what I said before. I think PSG, honestly, when Real Madrid were bidding for him, was it last January or last summer? And they were bidding 180
last
million,
summer,
and they were rejecting the figures. And I was like, absolutely ridiculous. They're making the wrong move. They should have accepted it. And I think the board members in that PSG board will be looking at that going, "We made a huge error in not accepting that 100. Of course they want to keep Mbappe. I'm not dumb. Of course they want to keep Mbappe. They want to keep him. They want to keep Messi. They want to keep Neymar. But at the end of the day, if the player's heart's not in it, or the player's playing you for a fool, which he is doing, then just let him go. It's a lot easier to let these players go and just build a team that actually want to be there and actually want to fight for the badge. So, yeah, I think PSG in a bad situation right now. And if Mbappe says no to Saudi, they are screwed.
Mate, PSG, Ash, I've got to say this. They're a shambles.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why they're a shambles. They've not got a Champions League. They should have by now with the amount of money they've spent and the team they've had. And they've actually lost out in their domestic league, which apparently is the Farmers League, a couple of times. So I look back at the last 6 years that they've had, how they've not won a Champions League and how they've not won the league every single year by 15, 20 points is beyond me. So I look at it right now and think they've had Mbappe, they've had Neymar, they've had Messi, they've had Verratti, they've had Sergio Ramos coming in, Marquinhos coming in, Hakimi, Donnarumma in goal. I'm thinking, how is this team not winning the Champions League? Like, if you're looking at World 11s, which we just spoke about, there's a lot of players right there that I'd fancy, especially over the last few years. Some of them may not be now, but they have been in the past. I look at this situation now, and Belby's absolutely spot on. Why have they not accepted the 180 million and just gone, look, he wants to go Real Madrid. We don't want to lose him, but they are offering 180 million. We accept that now because he'll probably muck us around in a couple of years and end up going for nothing. And look what's happening. They're trying to be clever, thinking they're smart. This is poor business. This is shocking for them. They've got a Messi, Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe on their hands, and they're talking about Neymar pretty much going on a loan or something like that because they don't really want him. You got Mbappe's situation that's either going on a free because he's mucking them around. Messi likewise. This has been a shambles, mate, as far as I'm concerned, for PSG.
Absolutely. I mean, what kind of club would have that front three and not win a Champions League? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
people were saying if they don't win it, this was at the start of last season. It's an absolute travesty, and they've massively underachieved. But there wasn't a doubt in my mind that somebody like City were going to win it instead, because they're just not, like you say, they're not a well-run club, are they? It's like a game of FIFA where they're throwing all these figures at players and they're turning up and they're not playing for the love of it, are they at all? They're there because let's face it, the leagues, we say it's not, I'm about to say it's not competitive, but like you say, they've even managed to slip up there, haven't they, a couple of times in the domestic competition. So, yeah, they are a really, really badly run club. I think what they need to do is sit down and have a think and get upcoming players coming in, that want to be at the club, that play with a bit of passion. They've obviously got the financial clout to go and get younger players and take a risk on them. But they don't. They always buy these superstars that don't want to be there after a season.
Well, I think they are actually. I think they're realising now, Ash. I think they are realising now. Obviously, Messi's gone. I think this is a massive wake-up call for them with the Mbappe situation. I think they have realised now, and if you look at, like, obviously some of the players that they've been bringing in over the years, the older players, the Sergio Ramoses of the world, you know what I mean? Good players, but he's signing them when he's 34, 35. It's stupid. I think they are starting to slowly realise, but the sad part about it is, if you're a PSG fan, I don't give a shit, is that they've wasted a lot of time and they've wasted a lot of money. You know what I mean? It's like you said, mate. It's like people were saying, "Oh, how can they not win a front three with a Champions League with that front three?" Because football's not won on paper, is it? We all know that. You know what I mean? You can go out and buy Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe, but that's not what wins. That's not what wins Champions League. What wins Champions League is hard work. It's grit. It's determination. It's fighting till the very, very last whistle. Well, I'm sorry, but we've played PSG a couple of times over recent years, and there's players walking out all over the pitch all the time. You got Neymar walking around, Messi. Because, like, for example, Messi, you have to build the team around Messi. You probably have to build the team around Neymar, and you probably have to build the team around Mbappe.
Yeah.
So alarm bells are ringing there. You know what I mean? PSG, when the Qataris bought PSG, they should have got proper football people in there. But they didn't. What they wanted to do, they wanted to get all these superstars, which I understand why they wanted to do it. It's good for the PSG brand. They sell a lot of T-shirts around the world, you know what I mean, with the Jordan and that. It looks sick. But ultimately, as a football project, they have massively messed up. And as Ash said, it's a game of FIFA, mate. You know what I mean? That's all they do.
Yeah, it's like the Galacticos from years ago. Real Madrid started to do that, and they weren't winning everything with it, and they thought they were going to be, and they quickly stopped that. I think, like Ash, you know better than anyone, mate. When Leicester won the league, you didn't have the best team on paper. You had the best team, though. Individually,
exactly.
you didn't, but the best team. And I think that, I'm not comparing Leicester's win in the Premier League to the Champions League wins, but you kind of get my point that your team was the best that year, but you didn't have individually the best players on paper. No one would have looked at your squad on paper and gone, do you know what? I'll take all 11 of those, like, individually, they're class. But, you had the 5 or 6 leaders and you had that team that absolutely killed it. And I think that's what's important. Apparently, this deal to Saudi Arabia is he gets like 20 quid a second. Or something mad like that. It works out at. Like, this is unbelievable.
Well, I don't know if you've seen this.
But there's 700 million or something a year. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen this in the chat, Darren, if you can bring up on screen from Forum. Apparently, Kylian Mbappe will not join Al Hilal. He would rather spend all of next season on the bench than play in Saudi Arabia. Source Relevo. So I'm not sure how good that source is, but if that is true, then that puts PSG in a bad situation. As we just said, because what do? They have to sign it. Or they say to European clubs, right, come on then, bid for him now. Well, the problem is, who's going to bid for him? Chelsea. The only club in England I could see potentially bidding for him is Chelsea. I don't think anyone else in England would bid for him. I don't think United can't afford him, because if United could afford him, they'd be going in for Kane. City won't get him, because I just don't think Pep fancies that. Liverpool, no, and I don't think Arsenal would get him either. Nowhere in Germany can afford him. Nowhere in Italy can afford him. PSG already have him. Real Madrid is the only football club that you know, and they've already got Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo, Valverde. You know what I mean? So realistically, how much are they actually going to bid for him this summer if they actually wanted to do that?
Well, that's my next question. Like, let's say he doesn't go Saudi, right? That Forzan, fair play to you, and well spotted, LB. I didn't even see that in the chat. That for me, if that doesn't happen, and he says, right, you can pay me 500 million a second if you want, I ain't going Saudi, right? That is just a categoric no. How much is he going to be? Are people going to be bidding? Because, like, I was listening to the guys on Sky Sports News on the transfer centre thing they do at 5, and they were saying that there has been more than just the Saudi Arabian clubs that have come in and had said to PSG, "What are you looking for?" Now, if that is United, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, City, as well as Real Madrid's and Barcelona's, even whoever it be, what are they gonna ask for? Because they ain't gonna get 259 million. That's definitely a no. But what is he worth, LB? Like, are we serious? Like, seriously, what would you say would be a good deal for Mbappe? It's going to be 150 or something, isn't it?
Yeah,
maybe more. I don't know.
Providing that you do get him on like a 5-year deal and not a 2-year contract.
Exactly.
I mean, the economic rights that you'd get with signing him. I mean, just look at how crazy people have gone for Jack Grealish. I mean, he's getting a sponsorship deal every single week at the moment. It's you know, he's got this thing. I think it's with Gucci at the moment. He had one with Boohoo Man. You know, it was every other week someone was paying him more. Imagine that with Kylian Mbappe. It'd be a joke, and the clubs would do so much with sort of image rights and all that. But I don't know, because it's a weird one, because on one hand, the clubs would be like, you know, there's not many clubs in for him here because there's not many clubs that can afford him. Let's go in for him and try and get him. But then I reckon a lot of clubs would just be like, let's not move and let's see if he runs down his contract. And then you just pay him a massive sign-on fee. I don't know. I genuinely don't think there's many clubs in for him. I just don't think many clubs can afford him. Who can afford him, Dan?
No, I'm with you. I don't know. If it's 150 to 180, I mean, can afford him and will do it is kind of two different things as well. Do you know what I mean? Because I think there's a few clubs that can probably afford him, but that will be their transfer window completely gone. And there's a lot of clubs, in my opinion.
Who can afford him, Dan? Say name me some clubs and I'll see if I agree with you. Go on.
I think Chelsea could.
Do you think so? They'd have to sell a load of players at the start of the window just to get some of these players in? Do you think they can afford it?
I think they could. I think Chelsea could. I don't know if he'd go, by the way. This is just what I think. Who can afford him? I think that. Right, let's put it this way. How many billionaire owners are there in the Premier League? There's enough to them to say, do you know what? I'm going to chuck this money in. This is Mbappe. This never happens. This never comes around, right? Like when Haaland come to you, it was different because it was a release clause kind of thing. This is never happening, in my opinion, in a long time, right? Again, I can see the players of that quality. I can't see that happening for a while, right? So Mbappe's coming. You ain't going to get another Mbappe next year available. You ain't going to get another one available the year after. I can't see another Mbappe at the moment. Anyway, that's going to be available, right? So for me, I think Arsenal, if the Cronkies wanted him, they could go and get him. They've done it in America. They've got one of the best NFL, one of the best NBA, one of the best in baseball. Go and get the best in football. That's what all Arsenal fans want. And again, this isn't what I think will happen, by the way. This is just what could happen. They could do that. They could say, do you know what? We don't need anything if we give you Mbappe. There you go. We won't spend that much for a couple more windows, but you can have the 150 to go and get him or whatever the hell it's going to be, right? I think Man City, they don't care about FFP without being, it's not even a dig, LB. You could afford him. You could afford Mbappe. You're Man City. Do you know what I mean? You could afford him. Chelsea, they've just sold about how many players? 11. And they've spent 600 million in the first window. That Todd Bowley is mental. They could afford him. I'm not sure about Liverpool. It ain't really that kind of signing for me. Man United, I think they could, but clearly they can't because Kane, at the moment, they're not going to go and get him for 90. So they ain't going to, Man United aren't. But I would say the other three probably could. But maybe I'm wrong, LB. I don't know.
I just think with FFP, I just don't see it happening. And yeah, I do. City could definitely afford him. We've made net profit on our transfers in the last 2 seasons. So we definitely have like FFP budget there available. But yeah, I just don't see it, bro. The only club I can see going from is Real Madrid. And if I was Real Madrid, I wouldn't go for him. Unless another club went for him, I wouldn't go for him. I'd just be like, don't sign that contract. Because that's what I'd say to Mbappe. If I was Real Madrid, I'd be like, yo, listen, don't sign that contract that they're about to offer you, because they will offer you a contract, and come to Real Madrid next year. We'll give you a 5-year contract, make you the most paid player in European football. And that 150 million, 200 million, whatever you're worth, we'll give you 70 million as a sign-on bonus. You know what I mean? So then Mbappe apparently has made this agreement with PSG that he will not leave PSG on a free transfer. Well, then what happens?
It's a great point.
Checkmate.
Man.
Everyone's in checkmate. You're not going to leave on a free transfer, okay, but you don't want to sign a new contract, okay. Well, something's got to happen here, because if nothing happens, he will leave on a free transfer. So I just feel like everyone's just checkmated themselves out of it here, and it's just ending crazy, man. Honestly, it's a mad situation. It really is.
Like, do you think, Ash, like this is going to sound like a silly question now? I'm going to say it. Would a team want Mbappe? The obvious answer is yes, because he's quality. But in terms of up there, is it a wise move for teams? Because I look at it and I think he could be a complete... And I'm playing devil's advocate here because I would take him at Arsenal tomorrow. But there's kind of a part of clubs that might have to think about his head, because the last couple of years it's been in the clouds, mate. And some teams don't want that at their club. They're like, do you know what? I'm quite happy with, let's say it's Arsenal. I'll keep Saka and Martinelli because they're here for the ride and they're on the boat, as Arteta calls it, right? Real Madrid might go, we ain't got a centre forward, but Vinicius Jr. plays in his position and he ain't half bad. Rodrigo looks pretty good the other side. Yeah, Benzema's gone and they're looking at trying to get another centre forward, and I imagine that Mbappe will be there. But does a player like that upset dressing rooms, Ash?
Yeah, there's always that potential. Like how we said earlier, you know, Man City probably Pep wouldn't be about that kind of smoke. You know, they've got a good vibe, and even a superstar like Haaland, you can tell Pep's in charge. But the problem with Mbappe is, I feel like he oversteps that mark, doesn't he? And he wants to be not only the main man, but was it him or was it Neymar that there was rumours he had says on transfers at the club as well in his latest contracts? Like, it's just fucking ridiculous. No Premier League team's going to want that, are they? Do you know? If he does go to a Premier League team, he needs to go to one where he is going to be the star man. Man City, I still don't, as good as he is, I still don't think he's the star man over Haaland. You know, Haaland's been fantastic there. He's earned his stripes. He's that marquee figure at Manchester City now already. Mbappe comes in. If they don't know as well as last season, then he's to blame, isn't he, automatically? And that's where the heads can go straight away. And I just think he's best off going somewhere like Real Madrid, who are used to signing big names as well. Or take this big money move and be the star man and be on the face of everything, have the say in transfers, and I don't know. But you're right, he could upset so many dressing rooms. Look at Newcastle last season, for example. On paper, again, not a team that you would have thought would finish in the top 4. We knew it was probably going to come in 5 or 10 years because of the financial input. But if he went there and, you know, upset the dressing room, because he would be the star man there, he'd be the biggest player by a stretch. But I just don't think he probably would work at some of these clubs. I don't, especially not Man City, because Pep wouldn't stand for it.
It's just a huge personality, isn't he, Ash? And you look at the way he moves. You look at the salary that he'd be on. You know, that upsets some players. I mean, I don't know what he's on at PSG, but I can guarantee you it's a lot more than like £400,000 a week, which I think he's the highest paid player in this league. He's up there with that Haaland. He'd be on much more than that, because he's not going to take a massive pay cut, is he? So, you know, say he went to Newcastle, for example, he might be on 3, 4, 5 times the weekly wage of some of the best players at the football club. That's not going to be healthy, is it? So, you know, I get what I think it was Fours on there with the chat just said about, you know, all these players have said that he's a good guy, but it's not always about that. It's about the wages that he's going to be on. You know, a player's going to be happy with him if he's on 5 times the salary. Now, you could argue and say, well, if he's scoring 35, 40 goals a season in the league, then they'll say, all right, it's probably worth it. But there's a lot to consider, and if you're shedding out 150 million quid, 200 million quid, you've got to be 100% sure. And yeah, I agree with Ash. I think spot on, mate.
The thing is, like, I get what Forzan is saying. Like, where's the legit rumors about him being toxic with teammates? It wasn't really about that. What I was meaning, because he's probably gone into dressing rooms and he's a great lad and he's been fantastic. It's more about the actual club itself buying a player like that who's basically shat on PSG for the last few years.
Yeah.
Is he not going to do that to your club? It might be that he's great with the teammates in the dressing room, but is he not going to do exactly the same? So, say he goes to Manchester City, Pep Guardiola goes, I've had my time, I'm done. I've just won you another double, let's say, and I'm off. See you later, take it easy. And you get somebody in that you think ain't going to do what Pep Guardiola's done. He's going to go, right, I'm off, I want to go Real Madrid now. And then Man City are like, bloody hell, we've got this absolute nutter on our hands now. And he's doing exactly what he did to PSG, to Man City, and we're in trouble. That could happen. That's what I'm saying and suggesting.
Yeah. Didn't he
You know what I
also release a statement last month about battling the board and shit like that? What was it? What did he say?
What
Like,
is all that about?
yeah, like talking about like his contract situation, and I mean this is mainly about the board, And again, if you're the chief executive of a football club, got to sign off for the deal. You've seen this player you're about to sign who has previously hit out at the previous board that he's been at. It's like kind of mad. But the facts are, he's a fantastic player. So
Yeah.
you got to weigh it up. You know what I mean? And Dan, you said that you'd still take him tomorrow. So clearly you look at the pros and the cons
100.
and say it's fucking worth it. You know what I mean? And listen, as a City fan, I wouldn't be like, no, 100% not. But given the fact that we've just won the treble, I'm also not like saying, yeah, 100%. I personally, I mean, people can say what they want. I personally wouldn't take him at City because the way that we play, I don't think he would work fully at City. And, I think that the limelight is fully on Haaland. Ash is correct. He wouldn't be the star at Manchester City. 90% of Manchester City fans would still see Haaland as the star man, given the fact he is a City fan. And his dad played for the football club, and Mbappe previously rejected us a few years ago, whatever. So, yeah, I don't see him coming to City. But, yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
I'd love him, man. Can't even lie. I know people just talked about how we get Mbappe. We're serious, mate. Sorry, we are. People are.
If I was
looking at
any
Arsenal.
other club other than City in the Premier League, I'd go get him.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I see why. Yeah, I see why as well, LB, definitely. My point was just sort of Man City are on top of the world right now, aren't they? And they've got a great set of players, and I just don't think he fits in there. But I also see your point, Dan, as an Arsenal fan. How exciting would it be if Mbappe come to your club?
I mean, we need a player. Well, we need a player in that position, not just a player like him. You just don't say no to that, in my opinion. I think we should be all over it now and saying, look, we want a title. We've got to go and compete with the best players. He's one of the best players. Arsenal, apparently, when we moved to the Emirates, we're trying to compete with the top. That's what the waffle we were told. So 15 years down the line, 17 years down the line, sorry, should I say, we haven't done that. So it would be great for me to see us with that type of ambition. And I think with Declan Rice, Timber, I'm not going to mention Havertz, and obviously Mbappe, Man City, I don't care. Man City fans will be looking, going, bloody hell, all right, maybe they are more serious than we thought then. Maybe it ain't Liverpool and United we're going to be fighting with. Maybe Arsenal are going to be back up there. Because Mbappe, for me, there's your goals, plus the 15 that Saka, Martinelli and Erdegaard got each, plus Jesus, who can come in with double figures as well. That's the sort of signing everyone should be looking at going, all right, yeah, Arsenal are 100% serious. I just don't see us going for him. I don't know that Arteta would like that personally. I think Arteta likes players that aren't attention seekers. He likes players that are mentally all sound and 100% in with the clubs. I don't think Arteta could handle Mbappe, if I'm honest. We saw what he did with Ozil and Aubameyang. He was like, nope, get out the door. That's potentially what Mbappe is going to be plus 10 times worse. So I just can't see that happening at all. But this is what I'd like to see, and what I like, I don't always get, man. So we shall see. Let's move. Harry Kane. Ash, let's start with you because this one is a bit of a. I don't know about you. I kind of find it a bit boring, if I'm honest, because he's been at Tottenham for far too long. And I always use the term they change him to a radiator because that's what basically Levy's done. He's changed him to a radiator. Now, some of it is Harry Kane and his brother's fault because who signs a 6-year deal I mean, that's just mad, right? As absolutely, when you're at Tottenham, that's just a ridiculous thing to do. You got to a Champions League final under Poch and went, "Yep, this is the club I want to be at for the next 6 years." Football can change in 6 months, let alone 6 years. Stupid decision, but he did it, and it looks like the only way that he's going to get out now is by going to Bayern Munich. Now it looks like Daniel Levy is going to be more willing to accept or be told by the boss or owners that he's going to have to accept a bid between 80 to 100 million that comes in. That Bayern Munich, are going to be looking to prepare. Do you think this one could happen this time? Do you think Kane could go Bayern Munich now?
Yeah, because I actually think now that he's going to go on a free, isn't he? Is it next summer he can go on a free? Is
Yeah.
that right? If he doesn't go, and that's why the big boss is saying you either sell him or sign him up to a new contract. He's not going to sign up to a new contract. It's only a couple of years ago this guy was refusing to train. If I'm right, he wanted out that much. And
Yeah, he
was
wanted to
this
go
when
City.
City were rumoured to him, wasn't they, really strongly? And he wanted to move then. He wanted to go then. That was the Premier League rival. It'd be nice to see him go to a club, and this is not me having a dig at Spurs, that are going to win trophies. And Bayern Munich will do that. Domestically, anyway. We don't know sort of what team they're building to compete in the Champions League, because that's the standard's massive now, isn't it? But it'd be nice to see him just win some domestic trophies even in his career, because he is a fantastic striker. He really is. And I think it is going to happen this summer. I think he'll end up at Bayern Munich. There was rumours about United. They're evidently not willing to pay the amount of money that Spurs are wanting, and because they're looking at the Norwegian guy, aren't they? I forget his name.
Højlund.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, he'll get to Bayern Munich, I think, now, Dan. I think his time's over at Spurs. And it'll be nice to see him win some trophies. It will. Because he is
Well,
a
he's
great
definitely
striker.
good enough, mate. He's good enough for trophies and deserves it. Do you think LB will look at that now and he'll be trophies over this stupid Shearer record, which drives me insane that they actually think footballers want a Premier League greatest striker ahead of trophies. That to me is absolutely insane. But what do you think, LB?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he will go for trophies. He's going to Bayern Munich. He's going to win the Bundesliga. Let's not make no bones about that. I know people will be like, "Oh, they almost didn't win it last year." They almost didn't win it last year without Harry Kane. That's the thing that you're forgetting. You put Harry Kane in there, and they win it definitely. They won it 10 years on a row. Apparently, Said was saying
11.
This morning.
I think it's 11 now.
11 years in a row.
Yeah.
You put Harry Kane into that team, they're winning the Bundesliga. So
they won it with Choupo-Moting up front, mate. So it might be all right with Harry Kane.
Yeah, probably all right. Yeah, but I just think that if he goes there, look, he's going to go there to try and win the Champions League. Bayern Munich have struggled. A lot of people don't know Bayern Munich have not got out the quarterfinals of the Champions League the last 3 years. You know what I mean? So they have struggled in the Champions League last few years. So he's going there to try and help them win the league, the Champions League. And him being in that team will massively help Bayern Munich in the Champions League. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the stats now, Premier League stats. Where is he? Harry Kane. What's he even on? He's on 213. Alan Shearer's on 260. But I mean, it's one of them. It's nice to have, yeah. It's nice to have, but does anyone really care? Do you know what I mean? Like, no one really cares. Like, if you met Alan Shearer, right, you'd be like, oh yeah, fair dues, like 260 goals, but he won a Premier League. You know what I mean? So he's won a trophy. He's won trophies. Harry Kane, if he didn't win no trophies and he gets he gets 261. I mean, what's that mean? Was it actually, when you think about it, when you deep it for a second, say Harry Kane gets 261, doesn't win any trophies. What does that mean? What? It just means that, oh yeah, you've scored the most goals in the Premier League era, right? And what? Doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that you're the best striker to ever played in the country. You know what I mean? Probably the best English striker I've probably ever seen, in terms of like out and out goal scoring. But doesn't actually mean anything. You know what I mean? He's still not the best. It's not like he's the best striker. He's not the best player. I mean, Thierry Henry's probably one of the, if not the best player that's ever played in this country. Certainly up there in the top 2 or 3. So, and he's not even better than him. So it's like, does it fucking matter? You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. And
do you know what, LB? Just quick, right? Let me read out the top 10 Premier League, right? And I'll do this for a reason. So Harry Kane, he's going Bayern Munich, and he's not going to get the Premier League record. Alan Shearer's got it, and he's got a Premier League because he won it with Blackburn, right? You got Rooney, Andy Cole, Sergio Aguero, Frank Lampard, Thierry Henry, Robbie Fowler, Jermaine Defoe, and Michael Owen, right? They're the ones behind them. Do any of those look back at their career and go, oh, such a shame that I didn't beat Alan Shearer? Or do they think, I won stuff, I don't really care?
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, you ask Wayne Rooney that. You ask Wayne Rooney if he'll trade all the Premier Leagues, his Champions League for getting an extra 50 goals, an extra 60 goals on. No, he's not taking it. So, just go and win the Bundesliga. You know, and even if he doesn't win the Champions League at Bayern Munich and he just wins a few Bundesligas, at least he's won a few trophies. You know.
Yeah, he deserves that feeling. He does.
Give it a year, and this guy will be the number one. Haaland, I'll tell you, if he carries on
He
going,
will, though, won't he?
he stays long
very
enough.
possible. Yeah.
Well, I've said this on a number of streams, being deadly serious, that this is another thing that Harry Kane needs to think about, because if his thing now is, I want to become the Premier League record holder, I think that'd be mint, right? And fair dues. He might be like, you know what, I want to get 261 goals and become the number one Premier League goal scorer of all time, right? Which is, by the way, I sort of mocked it a minute ago, but to be fair, it is pretty sick. The honest question, the honest sort of conversations he's got to be having in his head is, if Erling Haaland stays at Manchester City for 10 years, right, which obviously he might not do, he might go Real Madrid or whatever, but if he does stay at Manchester City for 10 years, in all likelihood, that record will be gone in 10 years. So I stay at Tottenham to get a record and sort of forego any sort of trophies, any more Champions League real, challenges to get this record that'll only hold for 10 years. So by the time he's 40, or 42, that record's gone anyway. So he might as well just gone Bayern Munich. So this is honestly, it's funny that you bring it up, but it is true, because if that is something that he wants, he does need to think that is a serious risk.
Yeah, no, it is, man. And the other thing is, like, I've got to say this, LB, and while we're on it, Haaland, I thought he'd do a couple of years and then potentially go and play for a Real Madrid type thing. But when you look back, Manchester City, how many players actually did that? Because Kevin De Bruyne's 30-something now. Sergio Aguero, Yaya Toure, David Silva, Vincent Kompany, they could have all gone to Real Madrid, but they didn't. They stayed at City. So do you think people disrespect it when they say, oh, Haaland's not going to stay at City? He'll do a couple of years and he'll go and win stuff at Real Madrid. Is that a bit disrespectful now for what City have done in the last?
No, I don't think it's disrespectful. I think people are just naive and probably a bit dumb. And are not realising. I genuinely be serious, you know what I mean? Because we've had this. We had it with when we got bought. Oh, Sheikh Mansour will only stay there for 3 years until he gets bought, right? What we are now, getting on for what, 12, 13, 14 years, right? He ain't going nowhere. When Pep Guardiola came in, I'll only be there 2 years. He's now, in his 7th year or 8th year at Manchester City? You just mentioned the likes of Kompany, Fernandinho, David Silva, Yaya Toure, Sergio Aguero. You know what I mean? These players don't go. You know what I mean? The players love it. I tell you why they love it. Because Manchester City, the board, the manager, everyone in that club built the club so that the players feel at home and that they don't want to go anywhere else. You never see the training ground at City. It's one of the best training facilities in the world. It's being copied. It's being copied by Premier League clubs. It's being copied by NFL clubs in America because it's unbelievable. Why would you want to leave? And these people are like, oh yeah, he'll leave in 2 years. Based on what? Based on what evidence? Sergio Aguero didn't leave. David Silva didn't leave. Do you know what I mean? Yaya Toure didn't leave. Kevin De Bruyne's not left. You know what I mean? So yeah, maybe he will leave. You know, maybe he will go to Real Madrid because at the end of the day, he is a Galactico player. He's a Galactico signing. But you know, if City do keep him for 10 years, then that Harry Kane record will be gone. So,
what do you think, Ash? Do you think Haaland could stay at City for 10 years?
Yeah, I think he's going to stay there. He's a Manchester City fan, isn't he? Like you say, his dad played for the club. He's not just got the connection of, he got a massive wage, and he's already made history there. He's going to want to put a footmark on that club to be the greatest striker that's played for them, and he's got every chance to, hasn't he? Let's face it, he really has.
Do you know when he goes to just quickly, Ash? Do you know when he goes on international breaks with Norway? Not all the time, but sometimes he'll have a backpack and it'll just be a City backpack.
Yeah.
The guy loves the football club. He used to go to City games with his dad. There's video footage of him at the Etihad, at Wembley, watching City when he was like 14, 15 years old. There's hundreds of photos of him in City shirts growing up. His dad used to play for the football club. It's not exactly hard to believe. I know there's a lot of fans who like this United red guy in the chat who just a bit bitter and can't accept it. But the facts are now that Haaland did grow up supporting City, and players are now growing up supporting City. Another player that supported City when he was younger, Sergio Gomez. You know what I mean? I know he's not like particularly a great player in that, but the facts are players are growing up now, just like they did with Arsenal back in the day, just like they did with United, just like they did with Liverpool. Players are growing up now supporting Manchester City. And yeah, people can't accept that, especially with Haaland. They don't want to accept it, Ash. That's the thing. They don't want to accept it because they're scared. That's the truth.
Yeah. I think he could be there a while. I do.
Yeah, I think the evidence suggests that he could be. I always thought that he would want to be the number 9 at Real Madrid, but maybe players don't want that anymore. Maybe not every player wants that anymore. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people it's Man United. There is a lot of Man United fans that say it, but there's also Arsenal fans that say it as well because they're looking at City and thinking, I want Pep Guardiola and Haaland to go quick because then we might have a chance of winning the league. That's ultimately what people say it for, isn't it? Let's be real. Like LB, you know that. People will look at that and go, right, when can Pep bugger off? When can Haaland go? Because that's what they all want. Because then they've got a chance.
Bro.
Say again?
Pep's the one. Pep's the one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. I mean, everyone knows that.
Whilst Pep's in this country, I mean, don't mean that other teams can't win the league because obviously Liverpool did show that and we didn't win it in our first year. But I think people a little bit disrespect on Pep because, again, people say, oh, he can't do it without the money. He can't do it without the best players. The facts are that this guy is an elite level coach. In my opinion, he's the best manager in the world. He's probably one of the greatest managers of all time. And look,
I think he probably is, mate. I think he probably is for me.
And until people accept that, they won't get it. That until he leaves, the other clubs will struggle. They will struggle. That, and again, that's not to say that they can't win it because they can, and it only needs an off season that can happen. But I mean, if you look at his league finishes, it's like first, second, second, first, like consistent all the time. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think, listen, what Sir Alex Ferguson's done was unbelievable. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that he's miles ahead of Sir Alex Ferguson. Some would say Sir Alex Ferguson's better than Pep, and that's a great debate to have for me. I think what Guardiola has done at Manchester City, Bayern Munich, and Barcelona is incredible. And people will say, yeah, but he's had it easy because he got all the money given to him, blah, blah, blah. Lots of managers get that. Lots of managers get money given to them, but they don't actually achieve with it. And Sir Alex Ferguson didn't have it tough at Man United, did he? Do you know what I mean? It weren't like, oh, poor Sir Alex Ferguson. He's going to have to try and win with, this absolutely abysmal side because he's not getting given any money. Like, don't get me wrong, he overachieved with some unbelievably poor sides. 2013, he won a league with a team that looked like a shambles, right? But actually, when you look at what Guardiola's done, by changing football, I think he's changed football at modern day level. And I think now everybody's playing that. You know, when Arsene Wenger came in and he changed stuff off the field at football. So it was like the dieting was there and he brought all the French players over that were so far ahead, got everybody fit in a different way. And then the beautiful football that he brought over was fantastic and deserves a lot of credit for it. Sir Alex Ferguson, likewise. Pep Guardiola, what he's done, everybody plays out from the back now. Everybody wants a modern day goalkeeper. Everybody wants to play a false 9. Nobody knew what a false 9 was before Pep Guardiola. Everybody wants to play an inverted fullback. I didn't know what that was until Pep Guardiola played it. Everybody now wants to use John Stones as the John Stones role, the Rodri situation, the Kevin De Bruyne of this world. He's brought all these players into it. And I think sometimes because you have, and you don't know, Man City's fans don't like to hear it, you've had a lot of money to do it with, that sometimes then gets lost with what he has actually achieved. Because people make out that, if Pep Guardiola can do it, you could get any manager to do it. Just give them money and they'll do that. Nah, man, that's so disrespectful to what he's done. He's been unbelievable for me. And you're right, LB. When he goes, I don't know what's going to happen with Manchester City because there's the unknown. Now, I'm sure you'll go and win stuff again because you've done it with Mancini, you've done it with Pellegrini. But he's going to be a massive loss when he goes, man. And you must be in love with the guy.
Yeah, nah. It's the only thing that I would say on when he leaves is, unlike Man United when Sir Alex Ferguson left, we have a board that will know what to do. They ain't going to appoint someone like David Moyes, mate. You know what I mean? They're not going to be changing from manager to manager to manager. They'll get a manager in who can carry on the style of play. It will be seamless. It'll be a seamless transition in terms of style. It's not like we're going to go from Pep Guardiola to Simeone. You know what I mean? We're not going to do that. We'll get a Luis Enrique. We'll get a manager who can play that style of football to make the transition easier. There will be a dip. 100%. You know what I mean? I'm talking about one of the greatest managers that's ever lived. So there is going to be a dip, but the dip will not be anywhere near as bad as Man United's was when they went from Sir Alex Ferguson, one of the greatest managers this country's ever seen, to David Moyes. I mean, that's just embarrassing. I mean, if you're a United fan, that must be so embarrassing. I mean, fucking hell. And then they started messing around. Louis van Gaal, completely different style. You know what I mean? Then they had Mourinho, different style. You know what I mean? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, do you remember that farce? I mean, Jesus Christ, what the fuck was going on? Do you know what I mean? And then they brought in that other guy who no one even knew, the technical director. Do you know what I mean? What was he called?
Ralph
Rangnick.
Ralph Ragnick. What the fuck, mate? You know what I mean? And then he didn't know what he was doing. He actually gave him some good advice, you know what I mean, on players to sign, and that said that they needed open heart surgery. He got the chop, you know what I mean? And they brought this guy in from Ajax, who's just like a B-Tech Pep Guardiola. But yes, there we go.
You've enjoyed that, LP. That United and City fans bantering in the chat, debating as well. It's quite funny. Listen, let's quickly stay on City before we do come to a close. I want to touch on Arsenal, Chelsea, and City very quickly because they are linked with players. I said earlier on to you, LB, that Manchester City look a little bit weaker at the moment, and I don't think it's weak enough for them not to win the league. But I do think that if you're like trying to look at the City team that's just won the treble and the City team that now you're going into it, Mahrez and Gundogan, for me, if you buy an Elise, who we'll touch on in a minute, and Kovacic that's come in, I'd rather have Mahrez and Gundogan for me. Personally, I would rather have that. I would say that, however, Gvardiol, if you getting him, would be an unbelievable signing. I think that's a definite upgrade on your centre halves. But I also have said previously, when you lost Jesus and Zinchenko and you lost Sterling and everyone went, oh, this is it. Liverpool got a great chance now winning the league. You replaced them easily and Pep Guardiola got it right yet again. So you must have confidence that even though you're a bit disappointed, I suppose, that Mahrez, Walker, Gundogan are going, that Pep's going to get it right again.
You have to have faith, bro, in this guy, innit? He's shown time after time that we can lose company, we can lose David Silva, we can lose Yaya Toure, we can lose Sergio Aguero, and we keep winning. We keep winning trophies. So you're absolutely right. Kovacic is not as good as Gundogan, and whoever we bring in will not be as good as Riyad Mahrez. But am I going to sit here and go, oh, that's us? Fuck no. You know what I mean? Kovacic is a very good player, by the way. You know what I mean? Yeah. And with Pep Guardiola working with him, I think he could get him pretty close to the standards of Gundogan. I don't think he probably can get him quite there because I think Gundogan was exceptional, but I don't think he'd be too far behind. And Mahrez, for as good as he was, and I do think we'll get a downgrade, didn't really play that much towards the end of the year anyway. So, you know, so long as we can get someone in that right wing, whoever it's going to be, maybe it'll be Bernardo, but maybe he'll leave. That'll be disappointed. Could be Foden. Who knows? Someone in there who's capable. Then we should be fine. So, yeah, disappointing, but not panicking. You know what I mean? Not panicking because Pep's shown that he's dealt with this. We saw Raheem Sterling to Chelsea. We saw Jesus and Zinchenko to Arsenal, and we still went on and won the treble. So no one really should be panicking about this.
No, I agree, man. I agree. Ash, all three of us have had the pleasure of winning a Premier League, mate. So we know what it feels like. Where do you see this this going with Man City next season? Are they going to dominate again for you, or do you think Arsenal, Liverpool, or Newcastle, or another team can come and compete with them, mate?
I think it's going to be a little bit closer run than last season. Because like you say, they have lost a couple of excellent players, like Mahrez, you know. But I still think they're so strong. I can't see past Manchester City again next season. And I don't want to just say it to sound like I'm just pleasing LB, but I just still think there's a bit of a gap between them and anybody close to them, you know. Arsenal really ran them to the core last season, but was that just an outstanding season? We'll only find out soon, won't we, Dan? Do you know what I mean in terms of Arsenal? Was it just an outstanding performing team that gave it a good go, but come up against a consistent outstanding team? And I think that's where the difference is. Who else are we thinking? You know, Chelsea still need loads of players. They've got no depth at all now, have they, really? Newcastle played out of their skin last season, have made a few big signings in Barnes and Tonali. And I think they're after Livramento as well, aren't they, from
Yeah.
Southampton? They want him. Can I see them with the schedule they've got next season now competing in the Premier League? No. Spurs? No. United?
Where are
You never
Spurs
know.
without Kane though? Where Spurs without
This is
Kane
what
are
I'm
like
saying. They've
12th,
got
aren't they, or something?
nothing.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're going to be in serious trouble, aren't they? Tottenham
Yeah.
without Kane. I mean, we're talking about a top half fight, don't we think?
Absolutely. I know they've signed Maddison, but let's not forget, Maddison was in a starting 11 that got relegated from the Premier League last season. He can be as good as he wants, but that shows he's not a world beater, you know. But I can't see who runs City close. Honestly, Dan, do you? Can you see anybody
Well, I've
getting
had this
close?
chat with LB, and LB thinks Liverpool could be back. And
Right.
I agree. I think if they get their transfer window right, there's no reason why they can't. Why? Because they've been there and done it before, Ash. They've got the manager who's done it. They've got the players that have done
True.
it. And if they do sort their centre back and their defensive midfield position out, I don't see why they can't do it because they always score goals. It's been how bad they are been defensively. And I think if now Klopp sticks with this Trent role, and sorts his back line and defensive midfielder out to basically replace Van Dijk and Fabinho, or to complement them, I think they've got a great chance. I am going to stick with my boys and say that with the signing of Declan Rice and Timber, and if we aren't done yet, from what I'm hearing, if we can get some players in that can actually help in the front end of the pitch as well for strength and depth, I do think Arsenal have got the ability to be right up there. I don't know why they wouldn't. I don't see Saka and Martinelli falling off of a cliff. I don't see Erdegaard having a shocker. I don't see Saliba falling off of a cliff or Gabriel. So I think with our first 11, adding to that and strength in depth, if you're bringing on Timber instead of Holding and you're bringing on players instead of Reece Nelson and Eddie, then yeah, I think Arsenal could be right up there. But I do agree with what you're saying. Man City proved last season they didn't just scrape it; they went and won a treble. So that doesn't happen every year, man. So I do fancy him again. I know if I had to put a bet on, I wouldn't be putting on Arsenal, Liverpool, or Newcastle to win the league. It would be Man City. And I think, like we've just mentioned, if you go against Pep, you're a bit of a fool, really, because to win it 5 years out of 7, it'll be now, won't it? Out of his 7 years he's had, and to do a treble and to win domestic cups. I mean, we're talking unbelievable, like amount of trophies they've won in the last 10 years. So I would go for them again, but I do think that if the window was to stop now, Arsenal would be the closest team to Man City because Liverpool ain't sorted their back line or midfield out yet. And Arsenal have got a first 11. Arsenal, for me, right now, Arsenal got the best first 11 other than Man City.
Yeah,
I honestly believe that.
I know what you're saying about Liverpool as well, Dan, because I suppose last season they were just licking their wounds a little bit about Mane, weren't they? Because he was massive for them, wasn't it? Let's face it, it was absolutely fantastic for that football club. And he was a huge loss. And obviously they signed a few players, didn't they? Nunez and stuff like that. And he didn't hit the ground running straight away. But towards the back end of the season, they were looking strong again. So you could have a good point, actually. Fill them little holes they've got left, and they may be able to compete.
It's funny, actually. They finished last season like Arsenal finished. Well, they didn't finish the season like that, but they had a strong period of points per games. I know they bottled top 4 that year, Arsenal, but you actually look at the sort of like the 10, 15 games before that, they actually done quite well. And if you look at Liverpool's last 10 or 12 games last season, I think they were unbeaten. You know what I mean? They drew the last 2, which everyone just looks at and just sort of forgets that before that they went on a really good run. And they've got Luis Diaz back now. Salah, I think, could have a good year. Nunez, the thing with Nunez this year, he was getting in the right positions. And I know he's
quite
finishing.
like him. I can't even lie.
I like him. I'll mock him. I always mock him because he's funny when he misses like easy chances. But I think one day it's going to click for him. And when it does, I think he'll be a serious threat. And the players in behind, McAllister, Zoboszlai, you know what I mean? They got a couple of others in there. You know what I mean? They still got, I know Van Dijk's had a poor year or so, but he's still a decent defender. They got probably the best goalkeeper in the division, possibly the world in terms of keeping the ball out the net. They probably do need another centre back, which I think you said then, Dan. But they've got a very strong team. You said you think Arsenal's team's better first 11 than them.
I think the first 11 at Arsenal is better than Liverpool's. Yeah.
Ooh, okay, interesting. I'd like a Liverpool fan to have a debate on you with that and see if they agree. I'm not sure they'd agree.
I think if you look at the first 11 between Man City, Arsenal, and Liverpool, I think Man City, Arsenal, and Liverpool, that's the order I'd go with. Because I would have. So, okay, let's go through it. So, Alisson's a better goalkeeper. I think that's clear. Ramsdale, I like Ramsdale as it goes, but I think Alisson's a better goalkeeper. I think our centre back pairing pisses all over Liverpool's, if I'm honest. I think it's actually quite embarrassing, Liverpool's back line, to be fair. Kenyatte is a quality player on his day, but I don't see it enough regularly. Van Dijk is done, isn't he? Really, let's be honest. I wouldn't want him in my first team. That's for sure. He's a backup now.
Okay, give you two the centre backs. Liverpool got the goalkeeper. I'd take both of their full backs over yours.
Okay, that's fair. With a better centre half, that's centre half pairing. That's fair.
Yeah.
I'd take our midfield over there. It's Partey, Rice, and Ødegaard.
Okay. I think McAllister's got a shout.
Ahead of.
Difficult, isn't it? Because they're different profiles. I probably would take Ødegaard over him. I think Declan Rice versus McAllister, it's a difficult one, but I don't think there's much in it. You take Salah over Saka. I take Luis Diaz over Martinelli, and I take Nunez over Jesus.
Wow.
Is that controversial?
It's interesting.
Saka would. Look, Salah's ridiculously good, man.
You're not taking Saka over Salah.
No. I can't argue with Salah, but I'm not having Diaz over Martinelli or
Really?
Saka.
Nah, based on what I've seen, I think Diaz when he's fit is better than Martinelli when he's fit. In my opinion.
If you had the chance to sign 3 of them, you'd sign Diaz over Saka or Martinelli for City.
So say that again. Sorry, what you say?
If I gave you all 3, you can only have one. You're going to sign Diaz over Saka or Martinelli.
For City, no, I probably would have. Right now, I probably would have Saka because of his age, and we need a right winger.
Yeah, I'd have Saka all day. I think Saka's carried Arsenal for 3 seasons. Diaz has hardly been fit.
No. I know, I agree with that, but I'm just saying, take that away. When they are fit, who's better, Martinelli or Luis Diaz? I'd go Diaz. I think they should have sick debate. I think you should get a Liverpool fan on the show and have it out.
I get Grizzo, everyone.
You should do it, man.
I'd actually have Jesus over Nunez as well. I like Nunez, but I think Jesus, all round brings a hell of a lot more to the team than Nunez. You've always said you sit and laugh at Nunez. I've never sat and laughed at Jesus.
I know. And
you should know that. You should know that.
No, I think that's a fair debate. I think the Jesus versus Nunez one is one that you could argue. But for me,
I think there's 4 players. I think there's 4 players that walk into the Arsenal start 11: the goalkeeper, the fullbacks, and Salah. The rest of them, I'm having Arsenal players.
I want to see on this show this week, Dan against the Liverpool fan. I want you to have this out. I think it'd be a sick watch, man. I think it'd be a sick watch.
We'll do that.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
Can I be the referee? I'll be the referee.
You can come on.
You can be there. Get a Liverpool fan there, and I'll referee it. Come on, man. Let's go.
And that's not me being disrespectful because I rate Liverpool and I actually love what Klopp's done. But I just feel right now where Liverpool, when they won the Champions League and they won the league, I can't sit there and debate too much when they had Mane and they had Fabinho, who was up there with like Rodri at the time, and Van Dijk, who was the best centre back in the world. People were saying I'll be happy to do that. But right now, where Liverpool are at, I'd take Arsenal's first 11 over Liverpool's. There's certain individuals I'd like. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think there's a Liverpool fan that can come on here and say, I don't want any of them players at Arsenal. I'm taking all those. I'm having Szoboszlai instead of Ødegaard. Or I'm having Fabinho. Fabinho, I'll have him instead of Partey.
Let's have it out, Dan. Let's get a Liverpool fan on. Come on. I think it'll make top-tier entertainment. And let's make it happen. Make it happen.
All right, let's do it. Errol was supposed to come on. We could have done it tonight. Can you believe it? Errol had to bail last minute. We could have done that tonight. Yeah, we'll do that, man. We'll do some. My plan was actually to get some combined 11s involved towards the end of the season. So maybe that's what we'll do. We'll make it happen. Last thing I want to touch on before we do close, and very, very quickly because I'm looking at time. Chelsea, linked with Kudus, linked with Caicedo, which I just don't understand how that deal's not done for me. They're saying it's very, very hard to do. Basically, Brighton 100 million. They're not going to do it. Ash, let's come to you, boys. Come to you both, but Ash, to start with you. Chelsea, I don't know. Chelsea fans have been very excited because they've got rid of all these players, but they do actually have to buy some players to replace them. And there ain't long left. There's only like a few weeks left. So what are we talking about with this Chelsea season for you under Poch?
Yeah, I mean, LB mentioned it about another team earlier. It's like a game of FIFA at Chelsea at the minute. And that's the only way I can put it. Last season, they were throwing money at everybody that sort of had a good video on YouTube. And this season, they've had to get rid of all of that because it didn't work. and where do they rebuild? What are they looking at? What is their strategy? You know, I just can't see one. I still think there's holes everywhere, isn't there? I think they're going to have Poch is a fantastic manager. Let's not get this twisted, but I think you could be right. Because if I look at teams like Villa at the minute, I'd fancy them over Chelsea at the minute. Probably would. I think 7th, 8th. If I was a betting man, I'd put money on them finishing 7th or 8th.
Yeah, I don't think that's madness. Like, I look at Chelsea right now, and I think they've got an all right 11 when you put it up, but they ain't got no strength and depth because they've sold it all at the moment. Or they've sold all their players, whether that was strength or depth, but they were players. They don't have a goalkeeper I look at the moment unless they buy one that I'm going, wow, he's top. They've got Kepa. Right back, Reece James, quality, love him, never fit. Ben Chilwell, left back, quality, never fit. Back line, Fofana, another ACL that he's done. He's going to be out for another season, which Ash will just laugh at because that's a brilliant buy, by the way. 90 million and he ain't kicked a ball for Chelsea yet. The Leicester are laughing. Badiashile I quite like, and obviously Colwell's come back, who I imagine they'll have to keep now. In midfield, they've got Enzo Fernandez. That is it. The other kids are new Brazilian lads like Andre Santos, who hasn't kicked a ball for Chelsea yet. Then they've got a front three at the moment of Mudryk, Sterling, and Michael Jackson. What's his first name? I was calling Michael Jackson. Is it Nicholas Jackson? I shouldn't laugh because apparently he's half decent. But so I look at it and I think there's a lot of gaps there. I don't know what you think, LB, about Chelsea this year.
Well, I had Catherine Lewis on the show actually. I spoke to him about this and just sort of like, what are your expectations, man? You know what I mean? What are your expectations for the season? And I think Chelsea fans' expectation is just like improve on last year, which shouldn't really be difficult. I don't think any Chelsea fans really should be saying top 4 is the aim, because top 4 is not the aim. So, you know, look at where you finished last year. You know what I mean? The business that you've done this summer and with Pochettino, that doesn't strike me as you should be aiming for top 4. Now, that's not to say they can't get top 4, but that's not the aim. So for me, what I think they just need to do this year, I think they need to accept that they're probably in for another tough year, but they want to see a style of play implemented in every game. So even if they get beat, the fans can come away from the stadium and go, we got beat, but I like the way we played. We tried to play football in the right way, it just didn't work or whatever. Rather than coming away, not having a shot on target, not scoring any goals, because that's what was happening last year. So improve the style of play, score goals, because last year they really struggled to score goals, and just sort of put a little bit of pride back into the side, you know what I mean? And like, these players actually want to be here. You know, towards the end, I don't know if you've seen Frank Lampard's interview on Diary of the CEO. I forget that guy's name, but
Stephen Bartlett, yeah,
you should watch it. It's a good watch, man. And Lampard was just saying that, like, when he went into that job, he said he walked into training and like he could just tell that no one give a shit. You know what I mean? And not in like a bad way of like they couldn't be arsed. Just like half of them knew that they weren't going to be there next year. You know what I mean? So they're not going to give 100%. So just restore a little bit of pride into the team, into the fan base, and implement a style of play. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, listen, I mean, Chelsea Rogers is saying that we're all Muppets because they're going to have the shock of their life. Chelsea do finish in the top 4 this season. It's quite fun. We've had quite a lot of this tonight. We've had Man United. This was hilarious earlier. Let me bring this up. I don't normally do this, but it did make me laugh. I nearly laughed out loud when I read it. Where is it? Oh, please don't say I've lost it. Here we go. Liverpool and Arsenal are the same. Happy to be City bridesmaids. Oh, just
he's been on it tonight. This United Red has been on it all night, mate. He's caffeined up, mate. He's caffeined up.
I nearly laughed at that.
He's like this, bro. He's like this on the keyboard, mate. He's like, United haven't had a great year. He's like, United. Like, bro, relax, man. It's not that serious, bro. We're just having a laugh, innit? You can't say nothing.
Mate, it was hilarious. I looked at it and I thought, what? All I said was I thought Liverpool might be back and Arsenal would try and take City the way. But now I'm a bridesmaid. Anyway, listen, I'm going to end it there. I think it's a good way to end it. Ash, absolute
Yeah,
pleasure having you back on, mate.
thanks
We'll
for having me.
have to definitely get you back on more, man. I know it's going to be hard when it's no Premier League for you, but next season, man,
Yes.
I'm praying you'll go straight back up, man. I actually,
We
do you know
should
what?
do.
I actually do think you will, man. I do think
Mm,
you will. I was quite shocked that you went down, but
yeah.
let's hope you get back up, man. We get you back on the channel more, mate. But mate, legend, thanks so much for coming on, bro.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And yeah, we've got a better back line this season than we had last season. So no reason we shouldn't come up.
Yeah, man, and in the championship as well, it might be better for you as well. So yeah, we'll see, man. But no, I hope you do, bro, and always a pleasure. LB, likewise, man. Great to see you. What you got coming on? You got your daily shows and stuff going on, haven't you?
Yeah, daily shows on my personal channel. It's LB. Come check that out. And then City Extra for all Man City content. So about to go live on there now.
Good stuff, man. United Red City's going to join you tomorrow. We'll see you there. So that'll be good. Big up all of you in the chat, man. Seriously, we always have banter on this one. And thank you so much. Make sure you smash a like on this one and subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're almost up to 11K. So make sure we can get up there, people. And we will see you next time. As always, up the Arsenal. Take care, people.